Okay, we're going to do a little session on pricking off. I know some of you will have done this before, but we're going to do a little recap. Okay, so obviously hygiene is important, so you're going to make sure your tray's nice and clean, that's all cleaned and brushed up, or whatever you're going into. Quick look at the compost. Obviously the compost wants to be ideally sterile, it drains well, it's got good moisture retention, plenty of air-filled porosity to get oxygen around the roots so that the roots are going to grow healthily, that they can respire and make lots of energy. So that's the important thing with the compost. If it's machine done, it wants to flow out of the potting machine, so that's a very important quality. And that obviously it's free from pests and diseases, so you're not going to get Pythium, Fusarium, Phytophthora, all the damping off issues that you could get with a lot of compost. Just grab hold of a little bit of compost, squeeze it in your hand. If it sticks together and then you touch it and it breaks up, that's about right. If it just falls apart straight away, it needs a bit more moisture. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to fill a tray up with a bit of compost, make sure it's broken up. Just push it into the corners a little bit. I'm not firming particularly. Overfill it, and then just with a screed board, screed that off and screed it the other way. So you've got a nice level tray. Just pop a, I'm going to use one of the green ones, they fit in. Just make sure that's nice and firm. Not over firm, just enough to take a little bit of water in there. Clean off the edges and you've got yourself a tray. Obviously if you're pricking out a lot, you're going to do several of those and stack them up ready to do the operation. So now we've got the pricking off operation. If you're going to do a lot, you really want a bench that's about that sort of height really, because obviously you could hurt your back. Just put the tray on a little board so it's tilted towards you, because that's going to make life again better for your back when you're doing a lot of pricking out. So I'm just going to pull the other tray in by the side, and then I need to get hold of some kind of dibber. Just having a look what we got. These actually are not the best, but they'll do the job. That one's quite good. So what I'm going to do...
What seeds are these, Mike?
These seeds are brassicaceae. They are cabbage greyhound, so it's a summer cabbage, which is going to be ideal. You know, if you like cabbage, you know, right about the midsummer, you're going to get something to eat there, and then obviously you can move on to your Savoy cabbages, your January King, to keep it going right through the year. So what we're going to do, we're going to ideally you should have watered these in the morning, and then you know a few hours later they're nice and turgid, nice and full, ready to be pricked out. So what we'll do is, now you can grade as you're doing it if you want to. I'm going to just sort of pull them out, handled by the cotyledons, and then what I like to do is to throw them on top of the compost, or place them I should say, not throw them, but I'm going to kind of in a tray this size, I'm going to go for 3 across that way, and then what we'll do is we'll pull out a few more there, and I think I can get away with 4 down this side. So if you want to, you can grade so they're all the same height. I'm actually just going to take them pretty much as they are. These were sown last week incidentally, so they are literally 1 week old. I am going to grade that one. I'm going to put that to one side, and that one's just about okay. So we'll just place them just on top of the compost like that. That one's okay. We'll just make sure you go right underneath them so you don't damage the roots. And there we go, we've got our 3. So just so you can see that, I'll put that to one side. So now we're ready to prick out. Now what I can do, now I've got them placed, I can proceed fairly quickly. You want a good sized dibber. Now by doing them a week afterwards, they're just the right size, so I can go boom, 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 job done, okay? So ideally that's what you want to do, boom, 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 that's it. Now if I'd have left them a week, you can't do that, and so suddenly this operation is slowed down. Now that one I've left a bit high, so really that one should go down a bit low. You still want it in the compost, but the idea is you can strengthen up these plants by just planting them to the cotyledons. So you're keeping a nice strong plant Whereas if you plant them sort of like this, they're going to have, they're going to fall over. So you want to really make sure they're well down into the compost environment. So that is pricking out into a tray, and then I'll put that to, obviously you put that onto your whatever you've got to carry them, so it keeps the operation nice and smooth. And again,
why do you handle them by the cotyledon and not the stem, Mike?
It's better for the plant to handle by the cotyledons. They do less damage, and the cotyledons eventually will fall away, and your true leaves will go on there, and they'll photosynthesize and they'll take over. So the cotyledons are doing a temporary job. So if there's a bit of damage to the cotyledons, it's not the end of the world. If you damage the stem, now they're going to stay there. That's going to be a long-term problem. So much better to handle by the cotyledons. We'll have a quick look at just filling a tray here, but the procedure is the same. So all we do with just an ordinary cell tray is to just fill it, just keep filling it, and I don't really press down much, because what's going to happen when you've pricked out, the water will take it down. So that's going to make that a little bit better. So what we'll do again is we'll just throw them on top, one per tray. Some seedlings, of course, you might have more than that. You might go more for beetroot, radish or something like that, and you can have multi sort of plants in a cell, and when you plant them out you just take one off and then the others carry on growing, which is quite a good way of doing it. The advantages of the cell are, of course, that you haven't got the competition that you get in a tray, and when you plant them out you don't break the roots. So there's a couple of good advantages of a cell. The disadvantage, of course, is if you do miss to water, then they dry out a lot quicker, and obviously anything peat based can be difficult to re-wet, so that could be an issue. But these have got quite a good depth, and you can see they're going in right to the base, which is quite nice, which is what you want. And there you go, they've got no competition. We'll label them, we'll get the fine rows on the watering can, give them a good watering, and that's pricking out in a tray. Okay, so there we go, a bit of pricking out, or pricking off as they call it now.